Okay, maybe we should try and look at the advantages of teenage pregnancy. Janice?
I think, well, if you want to look at advantages, I suppose you're not really necessarily thinking of the long-term outcomes. So you're just kind of thinking living for the day. Pregnancy, yes, what you'll have a baby and what that will mean to you, but you don't really think of the consequences. So if you want to look at advantages, is that maybe that in some cases, like, you know, they don't have, they're fearless. Young people are fearless. They don't think, you know, whereas an older mother might be thinking, oh, how am I going to manage the baby, you know, how am I going to back to work and these kind of things. That's not something that we'd be considering. So they're quite carefree, and I think to them is probably an advantage. It's an advantage to us because they're not really, they can take it as it comes. So they're not all that stressed about what are they going to do, and, you know, so. But you do get the odd young mum that maybe she's unsupported and she might have those fears. But maybe that's one of the advantages. When they go into labour, they tend to labour a lot quicker. And so they end up having the baby a lot quicker. So that would be an advantage probably.
But the teenagers think becoming a pregnant, it will automatically give them right to housing. And this is not the case. In terms of lots of benefits, they lose out on lots of benefits, especially if they're under 60. They're not allowed to claim lots of things. So please, you know, think about it. Say if you're entering, you know, you 25% actually plan to become pregnant, thinking, hoping that they will get housing, they will get all the benefit. And we all know that we're hearing every day in the news, the climate is really cutbacks, and there are lots of cutbacks. So it's important, don't enter pregnancy because you think you're going to end up with housing and lots of benefit. That is not the case.
That leads, yes, and that leads to poverty, which would, you know, because they get put into a bed and breakfast where the maybe situation is not it's not like it was at home, and so, you know, the child suffers and the mother suffers because it's not necessarily the good environment to bring a baby on.
Every parent, you know, want best for their children.
Exactly.
But if they are starting off with disadvantage of being grown up in a bed and breakfast with no financial support, then your child does not have a best start in life. So every parent's aspiration is that they want the best start in life. So please wait until you are ready to start your family.
Exactly. Yeah, Janet, let's look at disadvantages of teenage pregnancy.
Well, there's lots of disadvantages really, and I think if you classify them into kind of like the physical disadvantages, then we need to think about all the risks that they have, like we've spoken about earlier, the risk of having a premature baby, the risk of having a baby with small for gestational age, which means a small baby for the gestation that they are, the risk that they might have raised blood pressure and the complications that goes along with it. In the kind of like social issues, things like, you know, they're not going to be able to do the things that their peers are doing if they're not pregnant, because they'll not be able to go out at night, going out to parties, and they'll have to find somebody to look after their children. They'll not be able to do some of the sports maybe that are more vigorous if they're pregnant. So, you know, and socially, the kind of like, you know, the stigma that goes along with, because still there's a stigma about young mums being pregnant. You know, often young mums talk about the people look down on them because they're pregnant. So there's lots of some of the disadvantages. I'm sure kind of think of some more.
I mean, there are obviously, they start off, as I said, their body is not ready, and hopefully they are not on drugs and drinks, because if they are, then their child can be abnormal. They can have an alcohol syndrome, you know. And if they're smoking, that child is not only affected by being small, but it will continue to be small, and it has an effect even in adulthood. So as a teenage mother, you know, if your body is not prepared to be pregnant, you know, it does have an impact on the unborn child, which continues into adulthood. The other, you know, disadvantage is really isolation. These young parents feel really isolated. They find that their friends suddenly disappear. They've got no one around them, and they thought they were their best friends, and they're gone. And sometimes their parents also abandon them, because it's a stigma attached to say, this is not my culture. I cannot have a young person in my society. And in some cultures and societies, they are sent away to another family. So that creates lots of isolation. Isolation can lead to mental illness, and that has a direct impact on that young child. And clearly we want even parents to be in a positive frame of mind when they start their pregnancy. But if you start with negative impact, that will continue through your pregnancy, even when the baby is born and your child, because we want to stop that cycle of teenage mothers having another teenage babies. So in order to stop that cycle, we need to get them back into education. And as health professionals, we will help you to get back into education, which is very important. It's your choice whether you want to be academic or to acquire some kind of skill. So for a society, you don't become a burden, that you are productive for the society. More importantly, your self-esteem will be up, and that will have a direct impact on yourself and your baby as well.
If you are pregnant in school, are you allowed?
Some schools, they at the beginning, they probably, at the beginning of the pregnancy, the young mom may not even realize that she's pregnant, so they'll still be taking part of the school. But some schools, they have got a program where they actually, they do some separate tuition for them, so they're in a different class, and so that in itself, you're being taken out of your own group of friends for your own class, and then be made to do classes separately. That is that's obviously one of the disadvantages for them, and that's why they end up maybe not attending school very well towards the end.
Even after the baby is born, they will get lots of help to return back to education or their vocational qualification. There are, in the local authorities, children's centres. These are designed to help, especially these kind of mothers, to provide extra support so they can go back into aspiring whatever they would like to become in the future. So there's a lot of support, and obviously we want to prevent second pregnancy. So contraception is very important to discuss and to continue and to support that mother so she does not repeat herself of having another baby.
That's probably the most important message that we can send, really, that if you've gone through first pregnancy and that once having a sexual encounter once would lead into a pregnancy, you don't want to get to that stage again. So you protect yourself for the future, so that you can actually give that child a better life, because once if you go back to education and get someone a career and then get a job, then you'll be able to give that baby a better start in life and a better prospect of being a child that is successful in life.
Try not to get pregnant while you're young. There are lots of other things you should be doing rather than experimenting with your body. It's important that you get yourself your chosen profession or career or vocational qualification, so that you start working and that you have self-esteem, and because I'm sure you all want to be good parents, so start off right so that you can support your children. And there is plenty of time for you to have your family later on.
Yes, viewers, this is how far we can go today. Janet, I appreciate you for coming, and Cantel, I believe when we call you some other time, you'll be there. Things you've had it all, that you should channel your energy towards your education, at least your career. You see, health is wealth. Just take your time. There's time for everything in life. So enjoy your useful days wisely. Bye for now. Till we come your way.